Jackson, Mississippi, March 1988, the set of Mississippi Burning. The temperature was pushing 95 degrees. Humidity made the air feel like soup. The cast and crew had been filming for 16 hours straight. Everyone was exhausted, irritable, and counting the minutes until wrap. Gene Hackman stood under a shade tent, waiting for his next scene. At 58 years old, he was playing FBI agent Rupert Anderson, a role that would earn him his 4th Academy Award nomination. The film was brutal, emotionally draining, and important. Director Alan Parker was pushing everyone to their limits. But Gene wasn't thinking about the scene. He was watching something else. Across the set, near the background holding area, a young black man in period costume was being screamed at by the first assistant director. The young man's name was Jerome Washington. He was 19 years old. This was his first day working on a real movie. Jerome had grown up in Jackson. His grandmother had lived through the actual events the film was depicting. She had been 17 when civil rights workers James Chaney, Andrew Goodman, and Michael Schwerner were murdered by the Klan in 1964. When Jerome heard they were making a movie about those events in his hometown, he knew he had to be part of it, even as an extra, even standing in the background. He needed to honor his grandmother's memory. He had saved for 3 months to buy the clothes he thought they'd need. He had practiced being invisible. That's what extras were supposed to be. Background, atmosphere, invisible. But nothing had prepared him for Craig Morrison. Craig Morrison was the first assistant director on Mississippi Burning. In Hollywood terms, the first AD runs the set. They're the ones who yell "quiet" on set. They're the ones who keep production on schedule. They have enormous power, and some of them let that power go to their heads. Craig Morrison was one of those. He had been working in Hollywood for 20 years. He had seen every kind of extra. The wannabe actors, the professional background performers, the local hires who didn't know anything. He had no patience for any of them. To Craig, extras weren't people. They were props that moved. On this particular afternoon, Craig was already in a foul mood. The production was behind schedule. Alan Parker had demanded 17 takes on the previous scene. The craft services had run out of good coffee. And now, looking at his watch, he realized they had exactly 45 minutes of usable daylight left. That's when he noticed Jerome Washington. Jerome was standing in the wrong place. The scene they were about to shoot required background extras to be positioned near the courthouse steps. Jerome, confused by the complicated blocking, had drifted about 10 feet to the left of where he was supposed to be. It was an honest mistake, the kind of mistake first-day extras make all the time, the kind of mistake that takes 5 seconds to fix. Craig Morrison decided to make an example of him. "Hey, you!" Jerome froze. The AD was pointing directly at him. "Yeah, you. Come here." Jerome walked over, his heart pounding. He had done something wrong. He didn't know what, but he knew it was bad. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" "Sir, I'm sorry." I said, "What the hell do you think you're doing? You see where you were standing? You see the camera? You just walked into frame. Do you have any idea how much film costs?" "I didn't mean to, sir. It's my your first day?" Craig laughed. It was not a kind laugh. "Let me guess. You thought this would be fun. You thought you'd get to see some movie stars. You thought maybe, just maybe, somebody would notice you and make you famous." Other extras were watching now. Crew members had stopped what they were doing. Jerome felt 50 pairs of eyes on him. "Sir, I just wanted to be part of..." "Part of what? Part of my movie? You're not part of anything. You're a body. You're a prop. You exist to fill space. That's it. And you can't even do that right." Craig stepped closer. His voice dropped, but somehow that made it worse. "You know what the difference between you and that light stand over there is? The light stand knows where it's supposed to be. The light stand doesn't wander around like a confused child. The light stand doesn't waste my time. Jerome's eyes were burning. He would not cry. He would not give this man the satisfaction. I should send you home right now, Craig continued. No pay, no credit, nothing. That's what happens to people who waste my time. Sir, please, I need this job. I'll do better, I promise. You need this job? Craig leaned in. Let me tell you something about what you need. You need to understand that in this business, people like you are replaceable. There are 100 other people outside that gate who would love to have your spot. People who would actually know how to take direction. People who wouldn't embarrass themselves on their first day. He jabbed a finger into Jerome's chest. You're nothing special. You're nobody. And the sooner you understand that, the better off you'll be. The silence on set was deafening. No one moved. No one spoke. And then a voice cut through the humid Mississippi air. That's not how we treat people on my set. Gene Hackman had walked over so quietly that no one had noticed him approach. He was still in costume, the rumpled suit of Agent Anderson, the tie loosened, the sweat stains that the wardrobe department had carefully applied. But there was nothing theatrical about his expression. Craig Morrison turned, startled. Gene, I heard what you were doing. The kid made a mistake. I was correcting. No. Gene's voice was calm, but firm. You were humiliating him. There's a difference. Craig's face reddened. With all due respect, Gene, running this set is my job. You're the actor. I handle the crew and the extras. With all due respect, Gene said, not sounding respectful at all. This young man is a human being, and I don't work on sets where human beings get treated like garbage. Gene, come on, this is how it works. You know that. Extras need to be managed. Managed? You called him nothing. You said he was less than a light stand. That's not management. That's abuse. Gene turned to Jerome. His voice softened. What's your name, son? Jerome, sir. Jerome Washington. Jerome, is this your first film? Yes, sir. First day. Gene nodded. And why did you want to be here? Jerome hesitated. He glanced at Craig, then back at Gene. My grandmother, he said quietly. She was here when those 3 men got killed, back in '64. She never talked about it much, but I know it changed her. I wanted to be part of telling the story, even if I'm just in the background, even if nobody ever sees my face. Gene was silent for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thick. My father abandoned my family when I was 13. I know what it's like to feel invisible. I know what it's like to have people tell you, you're nothing. He turned back to Craig Morrison. This young man came here to honor his grandmother's memory. He came here because this story matters to him. And you? Gene's voice dropped to something cold. You tried to break him, on his first day, in front of everyone. Craig started to speak, but Gene cut him off. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize to Jerome, right now, in front of everyone who just watched you humiliate him, and then you're going to treat every single person on this set, every extra, every grip, every craft services worker, with basic human decency. Because if I hear about anything like this happening again, I walk. Craig's jaw dropped. You can't be serious. We're 3 weeks into a $15 million production. You can't just walk. Watch me. The 2 men stared at each other. Craig was trying to calculate his options. Gene Hackman was the lead of the film. If he walked, the production was finished. Insurance wouldn't cover it. The studio would lose everything. But apologizing to an extra, in front of the entire crew, that would be humiliating. Gene didn't blink. I'm waiting. The silence stretched out. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Finally, Craig Morrison turned to Jerome. The words came out like they were being pulled from him by force. "I apologize. I shouldn't have spoken to you that way." Gene shook his head. "That's not good enough. Look at him. Use his name." Craig's face was crimson, but he did it. "Jerome, I apologize for what I said. It was wrong. It won't happen again." Gene nodded. "Good. Now get back to work. We've got 40 minutes of daylight left." Craig Morrison walked away without another word. His shoulders were slumped. His authority had been shattered in front of everyone who worked for him. Gene turned to Jerome one last time. "You belong here, Jerome. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." Then Gene Hackman walked back to his mark, ready for his next scene. The story spread through Hollywood within weeks. Gene Hackman had threatened to walk off a major production to defend an extra. Not a co-star, not a friend. A 19-year-old kid on his first day. Craig Morrison finished the production, but his reputation never recovered. Word got around. Directors stopped hiring him. Within 2 years, he was out of the industry entirely. Jerome Washington stayed on the film for the entire shoot. Alan Parker, the director, made sure he was treated well. He got additional days as an extra. He even got a moment visible in the final cut. A brief shot in a crowd scene, looking at the camera with an expression that somehow communicated everything the film was trying to say about courage and dignity. After Mississippi Burning wrapped, Jerome went back to school. He studied film at Jackson State University. Then he moved to Los Angeles. In 2003, 15 years after that day on set, Jerome Washington won an Emmy Award for his work as a documentary filmmaker. His film, Grandmother's Eyes, told the story of Black women who had survived the civil rights era. In his acceptance speech, Jerome thanked his grandmother. Then he thanked someone else. "When I was 19 years old, on my first day working on a movie, I was told I was nothing. I was told I didn't matter. I was ready to quit the industry before I'd even started." He paused. But a man I'd never met, a man who had no reason to care about some nobody extra from Mississippi, stood up for me. He risked a $15 million movie to defend my dignity. Gene Hackman, if you're watching this, I never got to thank you properly. So I'm thanking you now. You changed my life. You showed me that powerful people don't have to be cruel, and I've tried to live by that example ever since. Gene Hackman was not watching. He had retired from Hollywood the year before and had no interest in awards shows. But someone sent him a tape of the speech. According to friends, Gene watched it twice. Then he put the tape away and never mentioned it. That's who he was. He didn't do the right thing for recognition. He did it because it was right. They say if you walk through the quiet streets of Santa Fe today, past the adobe houses and the art galleries, you might see an old man walking alone. No entourage, no cameras, no fanfare. Just a man who spent 50 years pretending to be other people, and then spent the rest of his life finally being himself. Gene Hackman never played the Hollywood game. He never smiled for the cameras when he didn't mean it. He never pretended to like people he didn't respect. And in an industry built on fakery, his authenticity was the rarest thing of all. Is there a moment in your life where you refuse to play along? Or a moment where you wish you had the courage to walk away? Hollywood has many legends, but Gene Hackman was something different. He was the truth in a city of lies. If you want to know the real stories, the ones they didn't put in the magazines, you're in the right place. We are peeling back the curtain on the legends. If this story moved you, hit that like button. It helps more people discover these untold stories. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Gene Hackman, The Untold Truth, and turn on notifications. We're just getting started. There are stories about Dustin, about Francis Ford Coppola, about the night Gene walked away from Hollywood forever. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Leave a comment below. What's your favorite Gene Hackman movie? And did you know he had this side to him? I'll see you in the next video. Stay real.